Okay, so I just explained which around the world pattern I'm going to use on this, which is the short side around the world pattern, and exactly why. So if you didn't already watch that portion of the video, go check that out. So I've measured off 34 feet of RPM blast that's going to go in this older AeroPro drive. Of course, it's a 16 by 19 pattern. If you're stringing it two-piece, your tie-offs for your mains are down here at 6 throat. Your tie-off for your top cross is at 7 head, and your bottom cross ties off at 10 throat, which is a tight tie-off. So, but I'm stringing this with a one-piece around the world pattern, specifically the short side around the world pattern. Like I said, I already covered the how and why. This is going to be strung at 52 pounds. I already measured off the string. I cut 34 feet off my reel, and I'll explain. If I wanted to leave that big, huge, enormous loop protruding from the starting clamp on the short side and pre-weave all those periphery strings like I talked about, I would need more string than that. So my 34 feet is the length that I would need for any kind of one-piece stringing on this. I'm not going to leave that big, huge loop over here, because I'm gonna do a little trick that I do when I on the UK RSA around the world pattern and this short side around the world pattern, which are similar in what you have to do with the short side. I don't leave an enormous loop here. I leave a small loop that I can then grab with a second starting clamp set up to bridge to the tension head. But you can only do that if you've got a second starting clamp, as I mentioned earlier. So you may or may not be able to employ the tactic that I'm going to use. If you don't have a second starting clamp to do what I'm about to do, and you need to leave this big long loop long enough to reach your tension head, come back, and go all the way around the frame, then you're going to need a short side much longer than the one I'm about to use. But you're going to need a total length longer. So I'm going to use 34 feet, and I'm going to use 11 feet 3 inches for my short side, which is 5 racket lengths, but I'm not going to be leaving the enormous loop here. So that's where that is. So let's get this thing rolling. So 52 pounds. And I've already cleaned my clamps and everything, so everything's all nice and clean. I'm going to put the long side on the right and the short side on the left. Like I said, my short side is going to be 5 racket lengths. And 5 racket lengths is 11 feet 3 inches. So I might have a little extra. We'll see. I'll see at the when I get to the tails, I'll see whether or not I've got any extra left over or not regarding the 11 feet 3 inches. But that's how long my short side is. So the short side's going on the left half of the racket. Yasuki method for starting the mains. So this is the penultimate main, or the 7th main on this racket. So that's the last 7th one you do with the short side. This is the big long tail. This is going to go all the way around the perimeter. And like I said, if you want to install that now and have this long enough to reach the tension head, it requires a lot more string than what I've got here. So now I'm going to tension the 7th main, or penultimate main, on the long side. But before I do, I'm going to go ahead and get my second cross going in right here. And I'm going to go ahead and fan and pull through all the slack that I can, so there's just a long enough loop here to reach the tension head. So that I don't have to pull an excessive amount through here. And by having that second cross already in place, it allows me to know exactly where I want to place my clamp, right up against the grommet. I don't have to clamp really far away. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to get the string through the clamp. It's already there and in place. I'm going to pull the rest of that through, and this loop right here, I'm going to put a ribbon. Because I did not take the end of my short side and route it all the way around, since I'm not going to do that, I will need a way to deal with these 2 blocked holes. I skipped over 2 grommets here, so this is going to make life easier later. So that's the second cross that you see there. Go ahead and get the 3rd cross through a little bit as well. And now's a good time to slide these down out of my way. So now I'll tension the second cross. And I'm going to move this, take this clamp, since I don't need this clamp here, I can drop that and allow that string to be as straight as possible before I place this clamp into position. Now I'm tensioning what's actually going to be the 3rd cross. So this is now the 18th cross, or the second from bottom cross. It's the last cross that the long side takes care of. And so now I'm going to bring this down and tie it off at 6th throat, like I said I was going to before. And even though there's going to be a run of string here, going from here to here, and it's going over the top of these two holes, it shouldn't block those two holes too much, because the short little run of string that's connecting these two mains will hold this little string offset slightly and make it easy there. If you're really paranoid about it, you can take a scrap piece of string, or as I do, these ribbons, and you can place it behind there, but I really don't even think that that's necessary in this particular case, because once you get this tied off, and I'm going to use a Parnell knot, this string on the outside of the frame will be slightly offset. And I've barely left myself enough here to tie a Parnell knot. So that's what the long side takes care of. And again, you can see how loose, freely that slides. That's because that string's actually being held offset anyway. So now, this short side is going to go down this outer main, across the bottom, back up here. These two holes did get covered up when we transitioned from the penultimate main to the second cross. That's why I put this ribbon here. These holes don't have any strings blockading them, so I didn't need to do anything there. And right up here I will need to, because nothing is blocked yet, but let me put this outer main in position. And this is the loop that you would have to leave as a very long loop, enough to reach your tension head and let your tension head achieve tension, yet still have all this string in there. So as I said before, I don't need to leave a big long loop here. I'm going to go ahead and advance most of this through and just leave a short loop where I can grab this with the starting clamp that I have prepared to bridge. So we'll just leave a short loop here, get this outer main in position. Exit the grommet down here. Like I said, that's pretty much going to be open anyway. And then back through in preparation for the bottom cross. So you'll see what's going to happen here. It's pretty neat. So this is the bottom cross. And again, through a hole with nothing blocking it on the outside. So now we're going to start tensioning these strings. Yeah, that doesn't have to be in there yet. So again, You either have a long loop here that you left, or you have a short loop and you're going to cheat a little bit or make things life a little bit easier for yourself if you've got the extra starting clamp. So grab that starting clamp that I spoke of before that you already prepared for bridging to your tension head, and just grab the short loop here. And then you don't have to worry about this string being 3 feet long, 3.5 feet long, depending on how far away your tension head is and whether or not you got a rotational gripper or a drop weight or a crank. So after we retension that penultimate main and get it clamped off, you can remove the starting clamp. And hang on to this, you're going to need it here in a moment, because you're just going to pull. See, now you don't have to pull, you now have to pull this slack through, but you only have 6-7 inches of slack to pull through the frame rather than 2.5-3 feet. So that's a lot easier to get that through there. And if I tension this outer main, the grommet that the top cross has to go in will get blocked. So before I do that, again, if you had pre-woven and routed this short side all the way around, it would already be through that grommet right now. But if you're doing what I'm doing, put a rib in here now to make life easier at the very end of the racket. And now again, we have a short loop here to tension. That's why I said to hang on to this. And now with, you don't need this rib in here. As long as you've already got this string routed on the bottom, you won't need that in advance. Got a little bit of a twist in the string here that I don't want. So I'm going to back it out a little bit. And you can either tension this or you can go ahead and install it where it needs to be for the missing main over here on this side. And then you can use your starting clamp once again. Now you no longer need this ribbon here. You got one last one here to help you with the tail of the top cross emerging over there. And that's pretty much it. And so let's see here. So this top cross would need another 2 inches to reach the back of my gripper, which of course I'm okay with it not reaching. I like to conserve string from the reels. It would actually need 2.5 inches. So that's 2.5 inches. Technically this is 2.5 inches shorter than it would need to be. But this was obviously part of my plan all along, so I don't mind bridging to the tension head for final pulls. I frequently cut string lengths with the knowledge that I'll be doing this. And this is always a tight tie off up here at 7 head, so I'll make sure that I don't put my clamp in my own way. Parnell knot. So I'd say this was the perfect length of string to use. This long side could have been a little bit longer to make that tying that knot easier. As you can see, I could still get in there with a starting clamp, but only just barely. So maybe 3 inches more on that. These lengths were sufficient. So that's it. That's the short side around the world pattern that I prefer to use. It's my preferred around the world pattern on these AeroPro drives. Not the Pure Aeros. Those are different now. They have different skips for those of you who didn't watch the beginning. This is for AeroPro drives or older Pure drives. So the 2013 AeroPro drive and older, which this is even older. So all AeroPro drives, which will be 2013 or older, this is the pattern that I would use. And any older Pure drives, which would be the 2012 Pure drive or older. If you're stringing the 2015 Pure drive or the 2018 Pure drive, they're more like the Pure Aeros. They have 2 skips, 7 and 9, 7 and 9, different tie-off locations, totally different. So this is the pattern that I use, because these older ones all skipped 8 head, 8 throat. Yes, I know they're all 16, 19 patterns, but the skips and the tie-offs factor into all this, and the spacing between the grommets and the transitions. So that's why I use the short side around the world on this one. So we'll do some final straightening and we're all done. Thanks.